Namaste, Dandavad Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 12, Text 38. Jai Shri Baladev Purnima Ki Jai. Ityutanha Pada Putro Dhruva Krishna Parayana Abhutrayanam Lokanam Chudhamanir Ibhamala. In this way, the fully Krishna conscious Dhruva Maharaj, the exalted son of Maharaj Uttanapad, attained the summit of the three statuses of planetary systems. Purport. The exact Sanskrit terminology for Krishna consciousness is here mentioned. Krishna Parayana. Parayana means going forward. Anyone who is going forward to the goal of Krishna is called Krishna Parayana, or fully Krishna conscious. The example of Dhruva Maharaj indicates that every Krishna conscious person can expect to reach the topmost summit of all three planetary systems within the universe. A Krishna conscious person can occupy an exalted position beyond the imagination of any ambitious materialist. Text 39. Gambhira vego nimisham jyotisham chakram ahitam yasmin brahmati kauravya medhyam iva gavam gana. Saint Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, descendant of Kuru, as a herd of bulls circumambulates a central pole on the right side, all the luminaries within the universal sky unceasingly circumambulate the abode of Dhruva Maharaj with great force and speed. Purport. Each and every planet within the universe travels at a very high speed. From a statement in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that even the sun travels 16,000 miles in a second. And from Brahma Samhita we understood, from the shloka beginning Yach Chakshur Esha Savita Shakala Grihanam, that the sun is considered to be the eye of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. And it also has specific orbit within which it circles. Similarly, all other planets have their specific orbits, but together all of them encircle the pole star, or Dhruva Loka, where Dhruva Maharaj is situated at the summit of the three worlds. We can only imagine how highly exalted the actual position of a devotee is, and certainly we cannot even conceive how exalted is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 40. Mahimanam vilokhyasya narado bhagavan rishi atodhyam vitudhan shlokan satre gayat prachetasam. After observing the glories of Dhruva Maharaj, the great sage Narada, playing his veena, went to the sacrificial arena of Prachetas and very happily chanted the following three verses. Purport. The great sage Narada was the spiritual master of Dhruva Maharaj. Certainly he was very glad to see Dhruva's glories. As a father is very happy to see the son's advancement in every respect, so the spiritual master is very happy to observe the ascendancy of his disciple. Text 41. Narada uvacha nunam sunite pati devatayas tapa prabhavasya shutasya tam gatim drisvabhyupayan api vedavadino naivadi gantum prabhavanti kim nripa. The great sage Narada said, simply by the influence of his spiritual advancement and powerful austerity, Dhruva Maharaj, the son of Suniti, who was devoted to her husband, acquired an exalted position not possible to attain even for the so-called Vedantists or strict followers of the Vedantic principles, not to speak of ordinary human beings. Purport. In this verse, the word Veda Vadina is very significant. Generally, a person who strictly follows the Vedic principles is called Vedavadi. There are so-called Vedantists who advertise themselves as followers of Vedanta philosophy, but who misinterpret Vedanta. The expression Vedavada Rataha is also found in Bhagavad Gita, referring to persons who are attached to the Vedas without understanding the purport of the Vedas. Such persons may go on talking about the Vedas or may execute austerities on their own way, but it is not possible for them to attain such an exalted position as Dhruva Maharaj. As far as ordinary kings are concerned, it is not at all possible. The specific mention of the king is significant because formerly kings were also Rajarshis. For the kings were as good as great sages. Rajarshis or Rajarishis. For the king were as good as great sages. Dhruva Maharaj was a king, and at the same time he was as learned as a great sage. But without devotional service, neither a great king, a Kshatriya, nor a great Brahmana, strictly adhering to the Vedic principles, can be elevated to the exalted position attained by Dhruva Maharaj. Text 42. Yapanchavarsho Guru Dhara Vaksharar Vinena Yato Hridayenda Duyata Vanamhar Adesha Karojitam Prabhum Jighaya Tad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam. The great sage Narada continued, just see how Dhruva Maharaj, aggrieved at the harsh words of his stepmother, went to the forest at the age of only 5 years, and under my direction underwent austerity. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unconquerable, Dhruva Maharaj defeated him with the specific qualifications possessed by the Lord's devotees. Purport. The Supreme Godhead is unconquerable. No man can conquer the Lord. No one can conquer the Lord. But he voluntarily accepts subordination to the devotional qualities of his devotees. For example, Lord Krishna accepted subordination to the control of his mother Yashoda because she was a great devotee. The Lord likes to be under the control of his devotees. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that everyone comes before the Lord and offers him exalted prayers, but the Lord does not feel as pleased when he offered such prayers as he does when a devotee, out of pure love, chastises him as a subordinate. The Lord forgets his exalted position and willingly submits to his pure devotees. Dhruva Maharaj conquered the Supreme Lord, because at a very tender age, only 5 years old, he underwent all the austerities of devotional service. This devotional service was of course executed under the direction of great sage Narada. This is the first principle of devotional service, Ado Gurvashrayam. In the beginning, one must accept a bona fide spiritual master, and if a devotee follows strictly the direction of the spiritual master, as Dhruva Maharaj followed the instruction of Narada Muni, then it is not difficult for him to achieve the favor of the Lord. The sum total of devotional qualities is development of unalloyed love for Krishna. This unalloyed love for Krishna can be achieved simply by hearing about Krishna. Lord Chaitanya accepted this principle, that if one, in any position, submissively hears the transcendental message spoken by Krishna or about Krishna, then gradually he develops the quality of unalloyed love, and by that love only he can conquer the unconquerable. The Mayavadi philosophers aspire to become one with the Supreme Lord, but a devotee surpasses that position. Not only does a devotee become one in quality with the Supreme Lord, but he sometimes becomes the father, mother, or master of the Lord. Arjuna also, by his devotional service, made Lord Krishna his chariot driver. He ordered the Lord, put my chariot here, and the Lord executed his order. These are some examples of how a devotee can acquire the exalted position of conquering the unconquerable. Text 43. Yakshatra bandhor bhuvi tasya dhirudam anvarukshid api varsha pugai sat pancha varsho yad ahobir alpai prashadya vaikuntam abhapatat padam. Dhruva Maharaj attained an exalted position at the age of only 5 or 6 years, after undergoing austerity for 6 months. Alas, a great Kshatriya cannot achieve such a position, even after undergoing austerities for many, many years. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj is described herein as Kshatriya Bandhu, which indicates that he was not fully trained as a Kshatriya because he was only 5 years old. He was not a mature Kshatriya. A Kshatriya or a Brahmana has to take training. A boy born in the family of a Brahmana is not immediately a Brahmana. He has to take up the training and purificatory process. The great sage Narada Muni was very proud of having a devotee disciple like Dhruva Maharaj. He had many other disciples, but he was very pleased with Dhruva Maharaj because in one lifetime, by dint of his severe penances and austerities, he had achieved Vaikuntha, which is never achieved by any other king's son or Rajarshi. Throughout the whole universe, there is the instance of the great king Bharata, who was also a great devotee, but he attained Vaikuntha Loka in 3 lives. In the first life, although he executed austerities in the forest, he became a victim of too much affection for a small deer. And in his next life, he had to take birth as a deer. Although he had a deer's body, he remembered his spiritual position, but he still had to wait until the next life for perfection. In the next life, he took birth as Jadabharata. Of course, in that life, he was completely freed from all material entanglement, and he attained perfection and was elevated to Vaikuntha Loka. The lesson from the life of Dhruva Maharaj is that if one likes, one can attain Vaikuntha Loka in one life, without waiting for many other lives. My Guru Maharaj, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, used to say that every one of his disciples could attain Vaikuntha Loka in this life, without waiting for another life, to execute devotional service. One simply has to become as serious and sincere as Dhruva Maharaj. Then it is quite possible to attain Vaikuntha Loka and go back home, back to Godhead in one life. Text 44. Maitreya Uvacha Itat te bihitam sarvam yat prishtoham ihatvaya Dhruvasyo dhama yasyasas charitam samatam satam. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, whatever you have asked from me about the great reputation and character of Dhruva Maharaj, I have explained to you in all detail. Great saintly persons and devotees very much like to hear about Dhruva Maharaj. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam means everything in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever we hear the pastimes, whether we hear the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Lord, or we hear about the character, reputation, and activities of his devotees, they are all one and the same. Neophyte devotees simply try to understand the pastimes of the Lord and are not very interested in hearing about the activities of his devotees. But such discrimination should not be indulged by any real devotee. Sometimes, less intelligent men try to hear about the rasa dance of Krishna and do not take care to hear about the other portions of Srimad Bhagavatam, which they completely avoid. There are professional Bhagavat reciters who abruptly go to the Rasa Lila chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam as if other portions of Srimad Bhagavatam were useless. This kind of discrimination and abrupt adoption of the Rasa Lila pastimes of the Lord is not approved by the Acharyas. A sincere devotee should read every chapter and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam, for the beginning verses describe that it is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literature. Devotees should not try to avoid even a word of Srimad Bhagavatam. The great sage Maitreya therefore affirmed herein that the Bhagavatam is samatam satam, approved by great devotees. Text 45. Dhanyam yasyam ayusham punyam swastyanam punyam swastya yanam mahat svagyam dravyam somanasyam prasayam aghamashanam marshanam. By hearing the narration of Dhruva Maharaj, one can fulfill desires for wealth, reputation, and increased duration of life. It is so auspicious that one can even go to a heavenly planet or attain Dhruva Loka, which was achieved by Dhruva Maharaj, just by hearing about him. The demigods also become pleased because this narration is so glorious and it is so powerful that it can counteract all the results of one's sinful reactions. Purport. There are different types of men in this world, not all of them pure devotees. Some are karmis, desiring to acquire vast wealth. There are also persons who are only after reputation. Some desire to be elevated to heavenly planets or to go to Dhruva Loka, and others want to please the demigods to get material profits. Herein it is recommended by Maitreya that every one of them can hear the narration of Dhruva Maharaj and thus get their desired goal. It is recommended that the devotees, Akama, the karmis, Sarvakama, and the jnanis, who desire to be liberated, Mokshakama, should all worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead to get their desired goal of life. Similarly, if anyone hears about the activities of the Lord's devotee, he can achieve the same result. There is no difference between the activities and character of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and those of his pure devotees. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 46 on Wednesday. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj ki jai. Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Our glories to the assembled devotees, our glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda ki jai. Jai Navadvip Dham ki jai, Nrsimhapali Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju ki jai, Shri Baladev Purnima ki jai, Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham ki jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund ki jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi ki jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yajna ki jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yajna ki jai, Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol. Hare Krishna.